Rosie, for setting this all up from your command station. I would like to call to order the County Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency. It's the Board of Directors meeting. It's via Zoom. It's December 21st, 2021 at 10:01 a.m. We do have quorum, and so roll call, please. Mike Metzger is here. Gary Henry? Here. Let's see, Stephen Thorpe? Here. Dennis Rack? Here. Brad Walters? Here. All right, did anyone else come on, Rosie?
Yes, I have a caller ending in 8118. Can I ask who that is?
Hey, Rosie, we have an alarm going off. I'm going to have to go see what's going on.
Sure. I've got a caller ending in 8118. Can I ask who that is? Hans is joining. We've also got Mr. Tomchev from Hanover PV who's joined as well. That will be on Christine's first resolution.
Okay.
I'm not sure who the caller is ending in 8118 though. Let me send a quick message.
All right. And Hans just joined.
Yes.
Yep. Hans, if you could please recognize that you're here.
I am here.
Here.
I am, and recognizing the fact that I'm here, Mike. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Hans. Let the record show that we have 6 board members present. We do have quorum.
Can I ask, does anyone recognize the phone number 698-8118? I'm just not able to determine if that's a board member or if it's a guest speaker.
It's Greg Peterson.
Thank you, Greg.
Oh, well, you could cancel that.
Okay.
I didn't want to give out my cell phone number because I'm afraid of guys like that.
Too late now.
All right, now you have it.
Okay.
And Rosie, keep him muted, please.
Okay.
All right. Yes. Also, before we start the meeting, I'd like to please just take a moment of silence to recognize the passing village father. Our deepest sympathies going to you and your family.
Thank you. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the November 16th, 2021 minutes that you've received previously. Thank you, Rosie. Do I have a motion? A move.
Second.
I have a motion by Dennis and a seconded by Brad. Any further discussions, comments, corrections, changes? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried unanimously. I want to recognize our county legislature, head of the county legislature, Pierre Chagnon, and then also Kevin Muldowney, who are also present. Would you like to make a statement at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Pierre. I would like to make a statement for the information of the board and staff, and that is that Kevin Muldowney, our esteemed legislator from the Dunkirk area, will be chairing the legislature public or mind cramp here. The
Planning and Economic
Development Committee next year. Thank you, Mark. And with that assignment, he will have a seat on the Industrial Development Agency board. So Kevin is here today at the behest of the chairman to observe and be preparing himself to take his seat in January.
Great. Well,
Welcome, Kevin.
welcome, Kevin.
Great.
Welcome, Kevin.
That's excellent. Thank you, Pierre. Also, Mark, would you like to introduce Jason to the board?
Yes. So last month I talked about Jason Kozlowski accepting the position of director of marketing and communications, and he will be splitting his time between the Partnership for Economic Growth and the IDA. I think we can all agree that we've really needed that, and so I did talk about him a little bit last week, but I wanted to give Jason an opportunity if he wanted to say a few words. Welcome him, and if you want to say a few things, Jason.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to be here and take on this role. And after the first 2 weeks, my enthusiasm continues to grow. Big piece of marketing is about telling the story about the organization's work in a clear and effective way. So it's pretty invigorating to know that I can leverage the hard work that this organization has done and will continue to do. I just think the strong work ethic and positive work environment here in the office spreads from the top down. So I want to thank Mark for bringing me on board. I'm excited to work with you all.
Well, thank you, Jason. Welcome. Looking forward to working with you. Okay, let's move on to new business. New business A, if that could please be, is Christine back from her fire drill?
Yeah, evidently it was a test, Mr. Chairman. I checked and we're safe here.
Mike, do you want to approve the minutes first?
Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we did. All
You
those
did.
in favor? Did we approve the minutes?
You did. Yep.
Yeah.
We approved the minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
You did? Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
No problem. Yeah, and if it was a test, that was my fault, since that's a SUNY Fredonia building, so I apologize. Okay.
Oh, we want to stay safe here, so that's good.
All right. That's my goal, is to keep you safe. So if Christine and Millen could please present new business A.
Sure, we'd be glad to. We do have a guest speaker here today who I'll introduce in just a moment. His name is Ivo Tomchev, and he's the Project Development Director for RIC Energy. The resolution that's being presented to you today is a preliminary due diligence resolution with an attached due diligence agreement. This is for a new solar project called Hanover 2 PV that will be 100% owned by RIC Development LLC. It is a 4.75 megawatt solar project with a project budget of $6.5 million with 30 estimated construction jobs and 0.5 full-time equivalent projected permanent positions. This company may sound familiar to you. The CCIDA board previously approved a project called Hanover PV that was approximately $6.9 million solar project that would be a 5 megawatt project. So both projects are located within the town of Hanover. The application that we received is for pilot tax lease with real property tax abatement, sales tax abatement, and mortgage recording tax abatement. And now I'd like to introduce Ivo. I think Ivo has a PowerPoint presentation to present. And Ivo, you can share your screen, or if you need Rosie to, Rosie can share her screen for you.
Hello everyone. Yes, I will try to share my screen here.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope you can see it now.
We can see it great. Thank you.
Okay. So I wanted to make a brief introduction of the company and also the project that we're developing. So RIC is a company with roots in Spain. and it already has over $1 billion of assets developed and built. And these are mainly solar projects of different scale on 5 continents. The company has been present in the US since 2010, so over 10 years now. And we've been developing projects across different states. For the last 2.5 years, we've been focused on developing the same type of projects as the one we're presenting today, which are under the NYSERDA Community Solar Program. And these are up to 5 megawatt projects connected to the distribution grid. We currently have a whole portfolio of these in different areas of upstate New York. So the specifics of this program is that the power is sold locally within the utility service territory. This project is within NYSEG service territory. So individual subscribers will be able to subscribe for the project and get 10% savings on their energy bills. So this is a high-level view of the property we're developing. The location, the address is 11064 Hanover Road in Forestville. This is the town of Hanover. It's a very large property, 168 acres, and the project area is 29.5 acres. It's located in this front area here. So we've calculated that the total ground coverage is less than 4% of what we're proposing. As Christine mentioned, the total capacity, AC capacity of the project is 4.75 megawatts, which should be equivalent to powering approximately 2,500 homes. This is a high-level view of the design of the project. So it's set back 500 feet from the property line. We're introducing significant landscaping, so basically minimal to no impact to neighbors. We've went through a few iterations with the town. We've heard neighbors and town board members' opinions. So we did some changes since the original application we submitted. So this is the list here of some of the key documents included in the application. So currently we are in a special use permit procedure with the town, which is still not finalized. At this point, they're expecting the seeker review to be completed before they can move forward with the decision. And yeah, this is again a list of some of the key approvals we need to obtain, and you can see which ones we've completed and which we have not. For instance, as I mentioned, the special use permit is still not complete, but we've completed the Section 239 county planning review. The seeker procedure is right now to be started. We've completed the State Historic Preservation Office review. We've completed consultations with DEC on threatened and endangered species. Also, we're in the process of obtaining the final jurisdictional approval for the wetlands with the Army Corps. We have completed U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service review, FAA determination, and what will be pending after getting all the above approvals is going through DEC for the stormwater permit. So with that, I'll open to any questions.
I
I can't remember, maybe Christine brought this up, but who's doing the seeker?
Yeah, I actually have 2 things to add, Mark. That's one of them. I've had a number of conversations with Hanover Town Supervisor Todd Johnson as we've gone through this process, and as Ivo and his team have worked through the different iterations that he mentioned of the site plan. At this point, Supervisor Johnson has indicated that the town of Hanover accepted their updated application and site plan, which complies with the zoning setbacks. Supervisor Johnson is asking the IDA to proceed with, the review of a pilot application and consideration of those benefits. They are supportive of that. And they're also asking the IDA to act as lead agency for seeker review. And as Ivo mentioned, the seeker review and determination are needed for the final steps with the town board's special use permit approval and some other approvals. So we're just at that point in the process, or we're there at that point in the process. We're beginning our process.
Ivo, we're very excited about you and your company, RIC, coming to Chautauqua County for these projects. As recently has come up, can you describe what happens after the completion of the project?
Yeah, I think you're referring to what happens with the decommissioning, right?
Yes, please, the decommissioning.
Yeah, so in the last year or so, it's been typical that towns require third-party engineers to conduct an assessment of the decommissioning cost, and also we're required to provide a decommissioning bond, which should cover the cost that's expected. So there will be a bond. Basically, there are two levels. We'll have similar arrangements with the landowner because we're leasing the property that we're developing, and at the same time have a decommissioning bond with the town.
Thank you very much. If there aren't any other questions of Ivo, Miller?
Yes, this is our typical preliminary due diligence resolution authorizing and instructing the staff and council to go through the normal steps that we do, including holding a public hearing, negotiating a pilot with the applicant, holding the seeker process. And as Christine mentioned, the town has asked us to be lead agency, which is not at all unusual. And also during the due diligence process, we'll be working with the town because the board has adopted a policy that we're not going to approve any solar deals unless the town is on board, and that may or may not include the town negotiating a host community agreement with the developer. So all of that will be done before we next come back to the board with answers to all of these questions and addressing any other concerns that the board members have. So again, this is just a preliminary due diligence resolution authorizing us to go do the due diligence before we come back to the board with the results, asking you to give formal approval to close the deal.
Excellent. Thank you, Millen. Any questions of Christine, Millen, or Ivo? Hearing none, I would like to, Brad Walters, if you could please move new business A2.
Resolution 12-21-21-01, preliminary resolution of due diligence agreement.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, made by Brad and seconded by Gary. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote, please. Mike Metzger votes aye. Gary Henry?
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe?
Aye.
Dennis Rack?
Aye.
Brad Walters?
Aye.
Hans Howard?
Aye.
Let the record show 6 votes in the affirmative, motion carried unanimously. We wish you the best of luck and success in this great project, Ivo, And thank you for coming before this board. And also thank you, Christine and Millen, for your hard work on this project. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep, Evo, you're welcome to stay. It's a pretty exciting meeting. It's a page turner, and especially we have four legal counsel present, so you know it's going to be. Yeah.
No offense taken, Mike.
Oh, okay, thank you. Let's move to new business B, and that's going to be presented by Mark, Christine, and Noah.
Well, I guess I'll start out. So this is part of the project that actually Mr. Muldowney was in front of this board last month seeking a pilot for upgrades to his facility, and it all has to do with the same project, and that is the pump station. If you recall, some months ago when the city of Dunkirk owned pump station needed a number of upgrades, and it was servicing safety sprinkler systems for both the Sapwater property and Mr. Muldowney's property. And the city deemed that the associated cost with upgrading that pump station were they didn't want to take that on, and basically it sort of put it on the property owners to deal with the situation themselves. So Mr. Muldowney's property, he's doing upgrades for not only sprinklers but some other things in this facility. And Atwater is a little different, and I'll let Christine get more of the details. But Atwater is going to actually do upgrades to the pump station and to his facility. So this is addressing a concern. It's going to be really saving the city and town money. It's going to lead to new jobs. And by the way, both the city and the town asked us if we could provide a pilot for these properties to help them, do these upgrades. So I won't give any more away. I'll turn it over to Christine to take it from here.
Thank you, Mark. And just a technicality, the application with Mr. Muldowney was for a tax lease for sales tax abatement. There's no pilot with that application.
Yeah, that was part of the LEAD program.
Part of the LEAD program.
Yep.
So correct concept, just a slightly different program. So yes, the agency received an application from Atwater Capital LLC. Many of you have met or have seen presentations by Bill Kokas in the past. He is part owner of that entity, along with 3 other family members. The application is for pilot and tax lease assistance, and in this case, it is for real property tax abatement, sales tax abatement, and mortgage recording tax abatement. The project encompasses 2 properties. The first is the pump station that Mark referenced, which the city of Dunkirk has now effectively abandoned because of irreparable damage by a fire. And that is located at 6 Diligence Avenue in the city of Dunkirk. The neighboring property is Bill Kokas' warehouse, which the pump station served. And that neighboring property is his warehouse distribution center. That's located at 181 Stigalski Avenue, and that is located in the town of Dunkirk. For the warehouse, the project is a tenant retention project, including roof, drainage, overhead doors and dock repair and replacement, and gas well repairs and piping. The pump station project includes an acquisition of the pump house from the city of Dunkirk that has actually been operated and maintained by the town of Dunkirk. He will replace and upgrade the booster fire pump and associated plumbing, electric. It will include trenching and installation of new water supply lines and restoration of the existing pump house. The project cost is a little over $500,000. And The jobs impact is a retention of 12 to 15 full-time equivalents that are on site via his tenant. This would begin, again, this is a preliminary due diligence resolution, but subject to approval at a future date. This project would commence immediately. He would need to begin immediately upon approval by the IDA. Millen, I wonder if you could just describe this resolution. It's very similar to the one that we just discussed.
Very similar to the project we just discussed. Again, this is your typical due diligence resolution, instructing staff and council to undertake the due diligence before we come back to the board. We would do a public hearing. We would talk to the applicant about an appropriately sized pilot, go through the secret process, and then come back to the board. Nothing really out of the ordinary about this one. It's on the smaller size, quite honestly. So, we're going to do this quickly and leanly, but we're going to go through all the process before we come back to the board.
Thank you. Any questions of Mark, Christine, or Millen? Hearing none. Stephen, if you could please move new business B1.
Right. Resolution 12-21-21-2. Preliminary resolution and diligence agreement for Atwater LLC.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made by Stephen, seconded by Dennis. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Roll call vote, please. Mike Metzger votes aye. Gary Henry?
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe?
Aye.
Dennis Rack?
Aye.
Brad Walters? Brad, you're on mute.
Aye.
Thank you. Hans Hauer?
Aye.
Thank you. Let the record show 6 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously. Let's move now to new business C, which will be presented by, again, the trio of Mark, Christine, and Mill.
So, as you recall, this project came to us, I believe it was last month, for a due diligence resolution, and this is the Welch Building. As you're all aware, we talked about it last month. That it was the administration building for Welch's for many years, and the town purchased it. I don't know, 5-6 years ago, I want to say, and has been actively marketing it ever since. It had a few tenants here and there, but they ended up contracting with Hannah Realty and got enough interest that they let an RFP, and they got several interested parties. We were part of that, reviewing the applications, and then arriving upon this partnership between Savarino Companies and RAMP, and they've really been a pleasure to work with. They've been all over it and really responsive. And this is a great project. It's an adaptive reuse project, mixed use, commercial on the first floor, residential on the upper floors, and it's a great project. So they're back for the final resolution. And with that, I'll kick it over to Christine.
Thank you, Mark. So as Mark mentioned, last month, this board approved a preliminary due diligence resolution, and as Millen has described with the last 2 projects, that authorizes us to, as an agency, for staff to go through the next steps toward potential future approval at a later date. And so we have now completed those next steps, which included a public hearing that was held, and I don't have it right in front of me. I think it was December 9th, but you all received the minutes in your packet. We had a number of attendees at the public hearing. I think there were 10 or 11 attendees, so it was very, very well attended. Only one person spoke, and that was Town of Westfield Supervisor Martha Bills, who spoke very now they're testing the power here. Who spoke that? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. We'll have to give them our board meeting schedule. Supervisor Bill spoke very favorably of the project and also spoke very favorably of the IDA's assistance with this pilot application. The benefits being requested include, as Mark mentioned, adaptive reuse, the adaptive reuse pilot schedule, which is part of our uniform tax exemption policy. So therefore, no deviation is being requested from our policy, which is posted on our website and already approved by all of the taxing jurisdictions previously. And so there's no deviation hearing today. We also reviewed the environmental assessment form that was submitted for any potential environmental impact. And our I shouldn't say we, Phillips Lido reviewed it. Thank you, Phillips Lido, for that. And it was determined to be a type 2 action requiring no further review. Therefore, there's no seeker resolution being presented today. The review and the determination is just acknowledged within the final resolution. Let's see. So we forward you the application. We also forwarded to you the cost benefit analysis. And Mark, would you like me to review that?
Yeah, just at a high level, really
okay.
The conclusion more than
Okay,
anything.
so we're using a new format that was provided to us by MRB, and it looks like this. It's a several-page document.
Just real quick on that, CRG was providing this Inform Analytics for many years, and they had decided that they weren't going to do that anymore, and MRB Group picked it up and kind of revamped it, and now we're using their new revamped cost-benefit analysis.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Mark. I have to tell you, as staff, this is quicker, more efficient, and it's a great presentation of the data. So I think the board will be interested to take a look at that when they have a chance, if they haven't already. But as Sam Severino presented to us last month to this board, this is an $11.5 million project. They are anticipating 3 full-time equivalent jobs created as a result. There's one projected indirectly for a total of 4 jobs. And there are also approximately 99 construction jobs forecast as a result of the project. Within the cost-benefit analysis, you'll see the property tax exemption estimate, the sales tax exemption, the mortgage recording tax exemption. And, after, all the formulas are calculated and analyzed, the end result is a cost benefit of ratio of 6 to 1. So $6 of benefit to every dollar in incentives that are being proposed for this project. If you'd like me to go into more detail, Mark, I can. Okay, thank you. So again, it's an adaptive reuse project that would include commercial tenant space and a mix of affordable to market rate residential apartments. It's about a 48,000 square foot project. The real property tax abatement would be over a period of 15 years. And I'm just looking to see if I missed anything. They're working through some other programs that could support the project. They would hope to close on the property once all of the approvals are in place, over the course of the next year, begin right away and be operational by the second quarter of 2024. And I think that concludes my summary. Millen, I wonder if you could review the final resolution being presented.
As Christine went through, enumerated, we've done a lot of due diligence, as was authorized and instructed by the board at its last meeting, including analyzing the pilot, holding the public hearing, looking at SECRA, looking at the cost-benefit analysis. So I think that we've checked all the boxes, if you will. This is a final approving resolution. I do note, as Christine was saying, part of their capital stack includes historic tax credits that they're still working on. So it will probably not close this year because they're still putting all of that together. It's obviously a very complicated project in terms of that. So it'll probably close first quarter of next year. This is the final approving resolution. As Christine stated, there's no deviation resolution, which we would sometimes have. There's no secret resolution because this is internal renovation. So it falls under that type 2 category for secret, not requiring any further investigation. So this would authorize, instruct staff and council to finalize the documents that we have been drafting and already talked to council about. Don't anticipate any issues or problems there, and then close this when the time is right.
Excellent. Thank all of you. This is, as you know, a landmark project for us. So excellent work. Any questions for Mark, Christine, or Millie? Hearing none, I'll ask Dennis to move new business C1.
Yeah, resolution 12-21-21-03, final resolution, Portage LLC.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Dennis, seconded by Gary. Any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none? Roll call vote, please. Mike Metzger votes aye. Gary Henry?
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe?
Aye.
Dennis Rack?
Aye.
Brad Walters?
Aye.
Hans Sauer?
Aye.
Let the record show 6 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously. Now I'd like to move to new business D to be presented by Carol, please.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Chairman, you have in front of you a resolution to consider and approve for Falcon Acquisitions LLC. The owner is Douglas Scott Clark. He goes by Scott Clark. We have had a loan review committee meeting on December 9th, and the loan review committee has recommended this for approval. They thoroughly looked over his financials. This is for a building acquisition on 111 Cheney Street in Jamestown, New York. It's down by Crescent and Windsor Street. It's a very large building, which is now occupied with leases. There's about 20 people in there leasing it right now. So the building, as it stands on its own as far as the lease income. The amount he's requesting is $154,000. It's an LTEC loan for 20 years because it is real estate at 4%. Now, the city of Jamestown is very much into this. They have approved, JLDC has approved a loan already for $93,750. And Zone Capital also approved a loan for $50,000. They have given him CDBG grant funding in the amount of $50,000 for some renovations and to help purchase the land too, and the building. Scott has equity of $144,750, which brings the total of the project to $472,500. Scott has, the loan review committee just wanted to look at this as a building acquisition because that's what we're lending it for. He does have some future plans. He's very well versed and has worked in the industries of conveyors. So he plans to build some conveyors, use some of the space for that. He's got some painting and renovation to do. Besides the 20 people that are in there now, there's 7 office spaces in there. Let's see, they were very impressed with him. He's a very smart guy. He's worked for 27 years in the conveyor business, and he's actually from Ohio, and he's moved to the Jamestown area with his family. And he's been looking, I've been talking to him for about a year, and he's been looking around at buildings, and this one fits it perfectly. So there's a lot of space to lease. There already is space leased. It's a nice building. It doesn't need much renovation, some painting, some flooring to do. But the loan review committee was very well supportive. He has enough for a personal guarantee. His financials looked great. The collateral on this loan, if approved, would be a first lien position on a mortgage shared with JLDC and Zone Capital Corp. On the real estate at 111 Cheney Street. Of course, an assignment of rents, co-equal first, they decided, we presented it with a lien position on machinery and equipment, furniture and fixtures, but the loan review committee dismissed that, and the fact that going further, he's going to get a line of credit from a bank to start his business. So they wanted to keep that free. And there definitely is enough equity in the building. The building is appraised, by the way, at $425,000. He paid $385,000 for the building. But having said that, we are taking his personal guarantee, which is strong, and we are taking a life insurance assignment. The life insurance assignment is, the maximum would be, the total amount of life insurance is going to be $100,000 because he has a $100,000 term insurance. It would just cost him a little more money to up at $34,000 more. So that was agreed upon by the loan review committee too. So I guess at this time I'll ask if anybody has any questions or I left anything out.
Is this the old Master Carver's building?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. And there is still some woodworking being done in there.
Yeah. No, it's a great project.
It's a huge building. Very big. 3 floors. The second and third floor are still vacant, and he's got some plans for that to lease that out. He's been talking to people already.
Thank you, Carol. Great job on this project and the presentation to the loan committee. Any questions for Carol? I will ask Gary if you could please move new business D1.
Sure. Resolution 12-21-21-04, Altech loan request for Falcon Acquisition LLC.
Thank you, Gary. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Stephen. I have a motion by Gary and a second by Stephen. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please. Mike Metzger votes aye. Gary Henry?
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe?
Aye.
Dennis Rack?
Aye.
Brad Walters?
Aye.
Hans Sauer?
Aye.
Let the record show 6 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously. Now I'm going to ask our counsel, let's make sure that he's on. George Craig? Is George?
Yes.
If you could please raise the discussion regarding the resolution on our housekeeping.
Yeah, every year you do a housekeeping resolution where you reappoint your officers, you reappoint the staff officers, you confirm your meeting schedule, You appoint the members of your Audit, Governance, and Finance Committee. You appoint the balance of your agency staff. You appoint bond counsel and agency counsel. You appoint your depository banking institutions, and you approve your existing policies for the next year. We have attached to the resolution a Schedule A containing all of those items. We do note one error on Schedule A. We have all of these things for calendar year 2021. We'll change that to 2022 before Rosie finalizes the resolution. Your governance committee has reviewed the resolution, and at a meeting prior to this meeting, they did recommend to the full board adoption of the resolution. Obviously, if you change any of your policies going forward, this resolution doesn't commit you to not change them. It just has you readopt those policies for the coming year. And if this resolution is adopted, the officers will be appointed, the policies will be placed in place. You will be authorizing execution of any documents required by the banking institutions appointed, and you authorize the chair, the executive officer, your chief executive officer, and your chief financial officer to take all steps necessary to accomplish the purposes of the resolution.
Thank you, George. Questions of George? As he identified, we do this every time of this year. It should be noted that during the governance committee meeting, Gary Henry brought up a good question. We currently have the same members on both the audit and finance committee. It was identified that the finance committee is only used in times of actually future financing. George, if you could please describe what the responsibilities of the finance committee are.
Yeah, by statute, the finance committee is required to review and approve any proposed debt issuances by the IDA. So anytime the IDA incurs debt, the purpose of the finance committee is to make sure that the occurrence of that debt won't jeopardize the corporate existence of the IDA. Obviously, you could assign further things to the IDA to the governance or to the finance committee if you desired, but that's the general purpose of the finance committee under the statute.
Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, Hans, if you could please move new business E, the housekeeping resolution.
Sure. Resolution 12/21/2105, housekeeping resolution.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded, motion made by Hans, seconded by Stephen. Further discussion? Mike Metzger votes aye. Gary Henry?
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe?
Aye.
Dennis Rack?
Aye.
Brad Walker?
Aye.
Hans Howard?
Aye.
Let the record show 6 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously. Also, in the future, Rosie, we'll never have any meetings with 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Okay. Let's ask George to discuss the CCRC contract, which we're actually going to table and not bring to you until January.
Yes, presently the CCRC is provided administrative services by the IDA, and in return for that, all CCRC monies are transferred to the IDA, and the IDA pays all of the CCRC expenses. During the ABO's review of the IDA this year, the ABO asked for, what was the basis of that money transfer. So Rich spoke to me, and I told him that many other IDAs who have similar affiliates use a contract between the two entities to establish the financial terms between the two entities. So presumably at the governance committee meetings in January, the members of the governance committees of both entities will review the draft agreement and make a recommendation to both boards as to whether the draft agreement should be approved. The draft agreement as it exists now does have some brackets around the compensation portion. We discussed with the governance committee this morning the fact that the CRC is technically a subsidiary of the county, not a subsidiary of the IDA. Because it has the same board as the IDA, obviously it's an affiliate of the IDA, but it's not a direct subsidiary like your other not-for-profit entities might be considered. So one issue to be thought about by the members is the fact that the CRC actually has some broader powers than the IDA has. So some of our other clients do leave monies with the CRC so that they have more flexibility with the spending of those monies. Obviously, the IDA needs enough money to function. The IDA is providing a lot of services to the CRC, so obviously it makes sense for the CRC to make a payment to the IDA for those services. I think the governance committee members will be considering, along with agency staff, whether to continue the present arrangement or whether to make any changes to it. And you should expect some discussion of this at your January meeting. For those board members who want to review the existing contract proposal, recognizing that it's only a draft, obviously your staff can send that out to you for your review.
Mike and George, I don't mean to interrupt. A caller is trying to join the Zoom, so I just want to find out who it is. Good morning. I have a caller ending in 0927. Can I ask who that is?
Rosie, that's Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, George, you can go ahead and continue.
Right. I think I was asking Mike if he wanted any further discussion beyond that.
No, that's sufficient. Thank you, George. Any questions of George? Thank you. Okay, we'll be addressing this in the January meeting. Board survey, is that Mark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So every year the IDA staff is required to survey the IDA board. We're required by the Authority Budget Office to do so. So you all responded to a 16-question survey, and we received the results, and I have that in the aggregate. And so I just wanted to address that. For the most part, I would say that it was very positive, but there were a few, I don't know if you want to share that, Rose, there were a few questions that were kind of mixed. It has between agree, somewhat don't agree, and don't agree. So we had, for the most part, there was a lot of 7 people agreeing and one saying somewhat agree. But I've highlighted the ones that where it was more mixed. Number 5 here says, the board is working to set clear and measurable performance goals for the IDA that contribute to it accomplishing its mission. 4 agreed, 4 some would agree. Number 8, board members are knowledgeable about the IDA's programs, financial statements, reporting requirements, and other transactions. The board knows, number 10, the board knows the statutory obligations of the IDA, and if the IDA is in compliance with the state law. 5 and 3. Number 13, individual board members feel empowered to delay votes, defer agenda items, or table actions if they feel additional information or discussion is required. 6 agree, 2 somewhat agree. Next page, Rose. Number 15, the board has identified the areas of most risk to the authority, the IDA, and works with management to implement risk mitigation strategies before problems occur. 6 agree, 2 somewhat agree. So I just want to sort of address these, and if you could thumb down, Rose, the recommendations. Okay, so I have some ideas. We can have a discussion after this real quick. But so this is what I'm proposing. At the January 2022 IDA board meeting, I'll be presenting my report that I do every year, and I'll be talking about the goals that were set out for 2021 and how the organization has performed in relation to those goals. So again, last January I talked about what we want to accomplish in 2021, and I'll sort of report out on how we've done in accomplishing those goals. And I also want to meet with Mike, our board chair, in January if possible, to talk about the goals set forth in 2022 as they relate to the CCIDA's mission. And so we can kind of kick around some ideas as well. Number 2, I want to invite all board members to attend kind of the CCIDA 101 orientation luncheon, which is on January 27th. We do this each time there's a new batch of county legislators, or anytime a new legislator comes on board, we invite them to come and meet with us. We talk through, what the IDA is, what we do. So I certainly want to invite all the board members to attend that. And then, there's 2 things that we received in the past, and I was talking to Greg Peterson about it this morning, and also George Craig. A few years ago, in 2006 this was published, but I know there's an updated version, and George says he'll update it even more, a reference manual for Chautauqua County, or County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency. So I talked to George about it this morning, and he's going to put together a new reference manual, which goes through everything CCIDA. So we'll make that available to all the board members. Okay, and then there's also this, Harris Beach puts out each year this economic development handbook, and it talks a lot about sort of at a higher level what IDAs do, what their powers are, how they're involved in their community. So we'll also make a copy of this available to all the board members. We'll send that out to you as well. So what else? And any other information that we have and that we get on a consistent basis, we'll make sure we push that out to the board members so you can stay up to date with things like prevailing wage. That's a new thing coming down the pike, so we'll make sure you're updated on that. A special work session will be offered to all CCIDA board members in the first quarter of each year to talk in depth about the IDA's financial statements, reporting requirements, and other transactions, the statutory obligations of the CCIDA, identify the areas of most risk to the CCIDA, and identify what mitigation efforts can be employed to rectify the problem areas, if there are any. So we'll make sure we do that. And, we welcome at any point any IDA board member to delay votes, defer agenda items or table actions at any time during our board meetings. But we also, and we did this in the past, and then it sort of, we had some board members attend at first and then kind of drop off, but we do a kind of a Q&A session the Thursday prior to each IDA board meeting, where the staff gets on. It's almost like a dress rehearsal of sorts. We talk about the agenda. We don't do any voting or anything like that, but it's an opportunity for asking questions. And we welcome the board members to join us on that too. So I talked to Rose this morning about here forward, inviting all the board members to participate in that Q&A again on the Thursday prior to the board meeting. So that's sort of what I have at the moment. And again, I'll meet with Mike sometime in January and we can kind of talk through some other things. I don't know if anybody has any questions at this point or comments or suggestions.
Yeah, I do, Mark. Thanks for that. It's Hans. And maybe this is a question for George. I just wonder about whether term limits of any kind might apply or should apply to our service as board members. I think there's some benefit to having some fresh ideas cycle on and off the board. Not that we haven't had a fair amount of that, but I just checked Outlook. I can't remember when I joined the board, but I know that my first Outlook invitation was October 2013. So is this like a lifelong commitment? I mean, I love the work. I love to be engaged in what's happening in the community, but it is a significant amount of time. And especially when you serve on multiple committees, I've sort of off the record talked with some other board members that they want to be, community minded, but I just wonder whether there's a best practice, George, for having some type of term limit or cycling people off the board from time to time.
Well, the county legislature and the county executive years ago agreed that each board member would be assigned a specific term of office and therefore need to be reappointed at the end of that term of office or somebody else appointed in their place. So you're not appointed in 2013 and just left there. You've got a specific term of office and you have been reappointed. And I assume each time they reappoint you, somebody asks you if you want to continue. So I think you do have a mechanism to address your point. There is no, if you look at some of the legislatures that have adopted term limits and throw people off after a specific period of time, you may be disappointed in how they act because there's nobody, some of those entities end up with nobody with any experience who knows what they're doing on their board.
Sure.
So there are pluses and minuses to term limits. You probably see them with let's leave it that when you wholesale replace everybody every 4 years or 8 years, you don't necessarily have a better outcome than having experienced people on the board.
I agree. No, I understand. I think it takes 3 years to figure out what the heck is going on, at least for somebody as thick as I am. But it just seems like that ought to be maybe revisited a little bit more thoughtfully from the board member's perspective when they come up for reappointment, that it's not just sort of a rubber stamp, but we just kind of keep on going, that hopefully the board members feel like they're still engaged and have something to add. But I for one, think that, we shouldn't be on this board forever, right? So,
Yeah,
I don't know how you feel about it, Mike, but.
You bring up an excellent point. And Mark, if you could please put together a schedule showing every board member their initial appointment and then where they are in their current term, and send that out to all the board members. I think that's an excellent point, Hans. You're correct. And traditionally, people would move off as they changed positions, but I know myself, and I'm probably to blame, I've stayed on or been reappointed as I moved through different positions. So I think you're right. We should revisit and look at it and maybe identify to how many times you can be reappointed. So good point. And Mark, if you could please put that together so that everyone not only sees their own situation, but the other board members.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Thank you, George. Thanks.
Yep. The problem that you have, Hans, is that you're so young that most of us get on when we're old.
No, it's not that. The problem is I'm right upstairs, so I'm a convenient target as treasurer to sign checks.
Ah, yes, that too. And we appreciate that. Yes.
No problem. Yeah.
Okay. Looking at the agenda, let's move. Any other questions of Mark regarding the board survey? I think those are excellent recommendations, and we look forward to reviewing those. Let's move to the executive director, CEO. I don't want to shorten you, but I know I don't want to lose members also, as we only have 6 members present, and we need to have 5 for a quorum.
So I'll be very brief, Mr. Chairman, very brief. I just wanted to inform the board that, as of January 1st, Linda Burns will be going part-time. She will be working primarily on site acquisition and disposition. Rosie will be she'll be spending approximately half her time shadowing the business development managers and learning that part of the business, so that she can transition over time to become a business development manager. And Jeanette Labella will be taking more of an active role in the IDA board stuff like Rosie's doing now. She'll sort of backfill for Rosie. So I think it's all good. I'm excited about it, and we'll get that going January 1st. The only other thing I have is I wanted to let the board know that we were pretty successful this year in our consolidated funding application requests. This has a lot to do with our great leadership by Nate Aldrich and Rebecca Worster and others at the Partnership for Economic Growth. I think they submitted 6 or 7 CFAs, and 3 of them were successful. And real quick, those are the Chautauqua County Consolidated Code Enforcement Plan, looking at countywide where we can make some improvements in our code enforcement. The amount was $32,500. The City of Jamestown was a sponsor on the Chautauqua River Strategic Basin Activation Enhancement Plan. So this is $1.3 million that was awarded for improvements to the Chautauqua, things like signature gardens, murals, cube seating, placemaking items, a kayak launch, dock, welcome center. So that's really awesome. That's going to improve our basin. and Chattaquin River, right behind the National Comedy Center. And almost $456,000 for improvements to Hartley Park in the village of Lakewood, which will complete the construction and design of improvements there for rain gardens, shade trees, landscaping, erosion control, and other amenities. So really great work, and we'll just continue to plug away and do what we can to improve this county. Good job.
Excellent, Nate and Rebecca. As you know, I serve on that board, and all your submissions were excellent, and you should be. It was great to see them, and you've really put Chautauqua County on the map. So thank you for all your hard work and effort, and don't be afraid to resubmit those other ones again. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Would either of you like to comment on your good work?
I'll just note that there's more good things to come. Now that we have this countywide economic development strategy and more than 110 or so partners convening regularly, there's projects that will be carrying forward in 2022, and we've really grown the capacity to take on more in several different areas: business development, tourism, community development, quality of life, and more. So more to come.
Looking forward to implementing those projects.
Excellent. It's too bad we can't. You can't hear all of our applause. So great job. Now I'd like to take. We're going to skip the treasurer's report as we wish Rich well in his recuperation. So let's move to. I'd like to have a motion to move into executive session to discuss specific companies or personnel issues or acquisition. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Hans. A second?
Second.
So, made by Hans, seconded by Dennis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?